In this present election, Harris and Walz are the ones talking about hope, while Trump and Vance speak about fear, weakness, etc. Both Trump and Vance repeatedly try to remind you of every small loss in power that the United States has had, when the loss in power is practically non-existent. Their objective is to make you fear for the current state of the United States, and additionally make you feel like you are weak, unable to properly defend yourself, etc. Trump and Vance both run upon senses of weakness and fear, trying to instill within their supporters persecution complexes, which allow them to far more effectively manipulate everyone. The United States has never been stronger. It is far more powerful than it has been in a very long time. Sure, the numbers in the military have gone down, but in comparison to when the United States was actively at war, the number of nuclear weapons have gone down, but the present weapons in the arsenal are more than capable of annihilating all life on the planet. So what does that even matter? The technological development is accelerating. The United States is far from weak. It is only growing more and more powerful. Sure, China is becoming more powerful as well. So is every country. The United States still outstrips all of them. Additionally, compare that to the United States pre-World War I, who was the strongest nation then. Somewhere between Britain and Britain and Britain again. The Great Britain was far more powerful than the United States pre-World War I. It's only been the last 150 years that the United States has conquered leaderboards. Never pretend that the world is held together by the United States, for it's not. NATO is far more important as regards that, though yes, the United States is one of the most important players in NATO. Just don't pretend that a minor loss in the United States is going to catastrophically affect the rest of the world. It did not happen with Ukraine. It did not happen with Israel. Those were both situations which were guaranteed to happen and were going to happen on a clockwork basis due to the leadership present in all nations involved, not just the United States. Russia was always going to attack Ukraine, and Hamas was always going to attack Israel. The only thing that changed is that Biden is showing strength by providing heavy support to Ukraine, and that Biden is also continuing to supply Israel with equipment when the Israeli government has deliberately taken actions which are extremely problematic, seeing as many of Israel's most recent moves are ones taken out of the playbooks of terrorist organizations, and since throughout the entire war, Israel has sacrificed numerous civilian lives for practically non-existent gains. The death for negligible results is far more than is acceptable. Now back to the subject. Sure, the United States is heavily in debt, but haven't you ever heard the saying, if someone owes you $50, it's their problem. If someone owes you $500, it's yours. The United States is massively in debt to China, to such an extent that it's no longer the United States' problem. It's China's problem. The United States' debt to China is a massive leveraging point. No matter what China does, it will only benefit China if it benefits the United States. Now, further back to the most original of the original topics, Harris and Walz both heavily remind you that the United States is good, and it can always be better. There are absolutely plenty of problems that need solved, and they are willing to do it. They've focused in on the most important of them, and tell you exactly how they'll solve them. Or they'll tell you about their theoretical plans to solve them when something's a little bit more up in the air than they'd like. Trump tells you that America is shit and needs to be brought back up to adequate states. He tells you that everything is on the brink of a disaster, and you have to elect him immediately to prevent the world from ending. In effect, electing Trump is electing a depression disorder to become president of the United States, unmitigated. Trump is so pessimistic that electing him will ensure that absolutely nothing practical is done, and instead, only the merest of practically irrelevant small things will be tackled. What does a pessimist believe? They believe that they have already lost, that there is nothing they can do except for solve minuscule problems. Of course, this pessimist is also full of bravado, and thus he acts as if he can do great things, while still believing he can't, and ensuring that when he does do something, it will be in an extremely half-assed, abrasive way that is doomed to failure because Trump already believes it will fail. And naturally, what he believes is good is almost always somewhere between irrelevant to outright destructive. Electing Trump is the same thing as spontaneously giving the United States a severe depression disorder. That's a pretty big deal. Naturally, Trump is also an extremely hateful person who will heavily damage the freedoms and rights of a vast quantity of the population. Technically, it's the entire population, but some will feel this effect more than others. But, of course, those horses have already been beaten to death so thoroughly that they're just mush on the ground. They're ground horse meat, except they were ground by baseball bats. Other people have already detailed the intended atrocities Trump intends and made all the points that I would like to make, but will never be able to make as effectively as they did already. So, I'll leave it to you to look them up, read about it, etc. This is a topic I would normally do, but I can't do it as well as other people already have. And I don't want to drag their message down by my significantly lower quality one. So that's a pretty solid criticism of Trump, in addition to the stuff that I just am not covering because other people have did it better. So let's get into the promotion of Harris and Walz. We've got Harris with the same happy, let's do this energy as FDR brought to the table during the Great Depression, which brought the United States out of the Great Depression and through World War I. And the current U.S. is in nowhere near that level of danger. And so if we get that same energy and power, we can expect things to get a hell of a lot easier. And then we've got Walz, who is your cool grandfather who takes the time to understand you and works with you, tries to help you, doesn't just tell you what worked for him, tries to understand what will work for you, and most importantly, intends to fight for what's right, even if that severely hampers his long-term career paths, as he has repeatedly stated and, to a certain extent, demonstrated on the campaign trail. Both of them intend to bring happy energy back to the White House, where for the past many years, it's just been negativity or keep it as it used to be. Let's get some positive people in there, and positive things will happen. As you can easily tell, I am all for Harris and Walz. They might not have everything economically I want, and they might not have everything politically I want, but I'm still supportive of them for more than just opposing the other side. I actually want them there because they are going to do things I want done. Not just oppose things I want to not be done. Are there other people I'd prefer being there? Absolutely. But Harris and Walz are still great. They aren't perfect, but no one's going to be, and no one expects them to be. So on the whole, there could theoretically be better people, but these are our options. And I'm not just happy with Harris and Walz because they aren't Trump. I'm happy with Harris and Walz because they are Harris and Walz. That is saying a lot. because the last several elections have not been so positive. And one last thing that I'm pretty happy about, Harris now supports nuclear, and nuclear is the future. It's the future the Antarctic embraced. And I can tell you, from experience, embracing nuclear is a very good choice for almost any nation who takes it. Now please join me in my positivity by smashing the like button, and additionally please subscribe if you are not already. The more positivity you propel into the world, the more positive this world will become.